I also wanted to just grow mushrooms for myself. We did get a lot of bad comments saying that I'm going out in the bush and picking these mushrooms and you're selling them. And I'm like, I'm not going and picking mushrooms, selling them. I'm like actually growing it. Did you look at my page? I'll get spores, then I go that on a petri dish. It'll go to substrate, put a little bit in grow bags, and then it starts to grow. Lion's mane. It just helps with memory, focus. Reishi is really good for like any inflammatory immunity, but it helps you get to sleep as well and have a deeper sleep. Turkey tail, so it's really good for gut health as well. Helps the digestive system. Shiitake, they call it the beauty mushroom essentially. It's really good for hair, skin, and nails. I love shiitake. It's my favorite mushroom. I eat it every morning for breakfast. Cordyceps is just raw energy. I can do 2 hours in the gym and walk out like I just walked in. So you do an hour presentation. Since I've had cordyceps, it's like I could do like 5 presentations in a day. It really just gives you that kick. For men, it helps increase testosterone.
We're looking to spend, say, $10 a week. What would you recommend them?
I always push for lion's mane, reishi, and obviously cordyceps first. If people are on a budget and they're looking to jump onto something that's going to give them like great results straight up, go to lion's mane straight up. If you are very stressed and you are thinking, go to reishi straight away. So I just love fungi. I love working with it. Just watching it grow on petri dishes just fascinates the hell out of me. Good morning, Andy. How are you?
Good morning. I am good. I like the Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah.
Right there.
Did you obviously you grew up with Dragon Ball too?
Yeah. I was a big fan. I watched a lot of like One Piece and Naruto as well.
Yeah, love Naruto. Love Naruto.
Yes.
It's,
Yeah.
yeah, great cartoons. Actually, I think one of my favorites still to this day is Evangelion.
I've not watched that one, no.
No, serious. Oh, you've got to watch that one, man. It's like one of the original Evangelius. And yeah, it's I won't ruin it for you, but it's really good. They get in like obviously big mech warriors, and yeah, but it's a really good series, and they sort of continued on, but it was just the original one.
Yes.
But yeah, definitely Evangelion Genesis is I think yeah, definitely get when you get a chance, watch that one. You'll love it.
I'll definitely look into it. How it first came about you, Ryan? I think I was like going through a mushroom hunting phase maybe a year ago, and then I really wanted to learn how to find. I think I was really looking into like magic mushrooms in Blue Mountains. That was sort of the main catalyst. Um, and then I just learned all about mushrooms, just picking normal mushrooms, and learning all about it. And that's sort of how long ago I initially had you on the podcast list. And I think you recently got back to us, and here we are. That's sort of the origins of this get together.
It's funny you say the magic mushroom thing because like that comes up a lot. Like my inbox is filled with people that constantly ask like, "Can you do the magic type?" And it's like, "No, we can't. You know, everything's legit." But going back to like origin, like my origin and where I first started researching into mushrooms, actually, and disclosure away from the business and don't do it anymore. But yeah, obviously I did grow a lot of magic mushrooms. And that was where I first sort of learned a little bit of magic mushroom growth. And down the track, I would like to do that because now it is legal under certain circumstances in Australia for people with like PTSD and things like that. They're actually finally putting that forward. So I think I can offer some stuff to that industry eventually, but obviously under legal requirements and everything like that. So, but yeah, it's a funny one. They come literally even at the when used to go to the markets, it was just the first thing. It was like. Or if I say when I grow to people, it's like, oh yeah, I grow mushrooms. They're like the magic type, and it's like, no, the legit type, sort of thing. Keep it legal, sort of thing. So yeah, but it's yeah, no, it's interesting.
That's awesome, Ryan. How long, or I guess like, yeah, how long have you been in the mushroom space now, Ryan?
Well, from the business point of view, it's only been a couple of years. I think I registered the business in 2023, November, but I've been prior to that, geez, I'd say the last 15 years of like going to growing because like obviously I grew up in English family, big breakfasts and that was, mushrooms were such a big part of my growing up. And then that was like obviously I did the magic mushroom thing, but I also wanted to just grow mushrooms for myself. And that's where I got into it, but I didn't go into obviously the new ones that have come about is obviously your cordyceps, turkey tail, reishi, whereas lion's mane and shiitake were the ones I just grew because the edible ones was just easy sort of thing. It was just, that made sense. And then it was moving into the medicinal ones for the other benefits of it sort of thing. So, yeah, about 15 years essentially sort of thing. properly. And then, but in the last, in before the business has been like the real strong like research and R&D and everything to get to exactly where we are sort of now and where we're going to move forward essentially as well. So yeah, it's been a bit of a journey. So mushrooms can be unforgiving at times.
When you talk about unforgiving, is it just going through seasons where just nothing was growing? Tell me about the unforgiving parts of it.
Well, it's sort of show you the seasons, because obviously, look, everything I do, look, I did do a lot of experiments when I first started was outside, and that is seasonal because depending on the mushrooms, obviously temperatures and everything is different for each individual mushroom. But it was more so I guess a lot of people put investment into their marketing and everything first, whereas all my money went into like my R&D first. And when I say unforgiving, it's like, I would say I'm throwing out oh, geez, like tons. I'd probably say a ton, a minimum of just substrate where it's been just experiments, where it's like gone wrong. It's like trial and error. So that's the unforgiving part, I guess, is where I'm trying to get at. So it's been a massive journey just to get like to where we are now, and it's still going. It's an ongoing thing. Like I now when I grow, I run experiments alongside of what I grow, sort of thing, and I don't think that'll ever change because I think the big thing with this industry is like mushrooms are ever evolving, and in the world of mushrooms, even besides myself, like we still only know a very small portion of what it can do, and like now, actually, I'm actually researching a lot into AM fungi, which is our best skill at mycorrhizal, like for, symbiotic relationships with plants. So it's more of an organic way of growing like produce and things like that. So you're not, where it's the one like grabbing the phosphate and nitrous, nitrogen, sorry, and then putting it into like the plant and doing that symbiotic relationship. So, but yeah, it's a lot of frustrating points as parts of just growing where you're like, you think you get it right and then you lose a whole batch and then it's like okay back to the drawing board sort of thing. So but through trial and error like success comes eventually sort of thing. You just have to stick to it.
When you say sort of gone wrong or lose the whole batch, is
Mm.
it literally that batch isn't growing because you changed whether it's the soil, the amount of nitrogen you put in? Is that what's happening or gone wrong? Or
Yeah, look, towards the start, it was more like, yeah, like the vitamins and balancing that, but it was more getting, you don't get contamination. So, look, obviously, every time you grow, this is obviously a big thing. Why we do like we call ourselves pure and I like have very controlled environments is my sort of fungi is always competing against like other fungi and thing. There's spores constantly around you, and I always say this to the person: if you threw a few petri dishes around your house, you could have the cleanest house, and you'll watch what grows on that, and that's constantly in the air and everything. So what you're trying to do is just reduce the amount of kind of competitors that are going. So at first, obviously through obviously trial and error and issues, just sealing the environments and everything that yeah, you just get contamination. It might not be the strain that I grew wasn't strong enough, or I put too much of a certain vitamin or mineral into the substrate. There wasn't enough moisture. The conditions weren't right, and then you have all these other things on top where you get like failure from equipment. Your heating and your cooling systems could fail. Your humidifiers aren't necessarily that bad because again you have to dim down your humidifiers just before you harvest anyway to like seal in the goodness of the product anyway. But if you and you're constantly watching it, but things can happen within a day. If temperatures rise certain much, like a certain degree, depending on the fungi. Say, I'll use shiitake. So shiitake is really good from like 18 to 20 degrees is a sweet spot through the fruiting. But say if your cooling system failed, you're in the middle of summer, that rises up to 30, bang, competitors. If there's just little spores, it's going to take over. Obviously now with our like the environments that I've created, of like it's so rare that I find a contamination. And it's always, in little petri dishes that I separate around my grow rooms, that sort of activate first. So I see that there's an issue, there's a sealing problem or something like that. And I'm able to address it a lot quicker. But yeah, like where we went from at the start, it was like going to a commercial scale, you're like 90% having issues to like it's 2 to 5% if I'm lucky, even probably less sometimes that we get a contamination now. So yeah, it's really good, but through that whole trial, and I think this is with like any business, it doesn't matter if you're doing mushrooms or anything, the first couple of years is going to be, it's going to be hard, it's going to be difficult. You're going to come against roadblocks, you can have the best product in the world, you're still going to have setbacks. That's just the way it is. I think if you're not having setbacks, there's obviously, I don't have. It's just me. I don't have this huge team and massive funding. Everything that you see has all been created by myself with the support of one of my older brothers. But a lot of this, whereas I don't have, mushroom masters, I don't have, heavy, I don't have any big backing of financial. I actually, to fund this business, I sold my Mitsubishi GTO, which I loved and built from the ground up, and I wanted since I was a kid, and I built it, but that's how much I believed in this business. So I sacrificed that, which you have to do in these circumstances to fund this because I just love fungi. I love working with it. It's a really just watching it grow on petri dishes and everything is just I don't know, it just fascinates the hell out of me. I guess I'm just so passionate about what I do, sort of thing. So
Nice. And Ryan, what does the lab, I guess, or what does it look like? Is it all indoors? Is it in different rooms? Is it in like a sort of a warehouse looking spot? Or is it just in a home bedroom?
yeah, so my scenario is, look, I do live up in the Blue Mountains, but obviously I'm still a small operation. So funny enough, my I've got a couple of rooms separated. So I actually moved into a house, an old house, and I'm renovating part of it, and then I actually cornered off a section of the house, sealed it all off, and yeah. So I have a dedicated grow like incubation and laboratories, but they're segregated in between. Then I'll have a full grow room that's separated. So you want to keep those two separate because obviously there's different temperatures and everything like that. So it's just a small operation. It's obviously because I'm still a very small business. But yeah, it's sort of, and this is where I don't know if you've gone through some of the stuff. So each area is like fully sealed. I have positive air pressure, so it's constantly pushing through well, I call it my five-phase stage filter system that I created. But yeah, both like grow room and everything is full laboratory conditions. So if you think about it, it's like having because I have a huge flow hood, which I do work in front of, but each room is actually a big flow hood essentially with just hot like air pushing out. So when you go into the rooms, you have air pushing on you. So this again goes into why I don't have to use pesticides in there because we just never get bugs and now I said it's very minimal that I do get any contamination sort of thing. Like I said, it's like the smallest percentage, very, very rarely sort of thing. It's just because of how I've set my environments up sort of thing. So even though we're in the Blue Mountains, it's like beautiful air and obviously environments are important to mushrooms. I think this is one of the things where that I push, and obviously we have that motto, the world's purest mushrooms, is because mushrooms are their environment. So mushrooms will grow in a dirty environment, and they've used this, and like I'm going to get into this further down the track of like remediation sort of thing. So you can actually they've done studies, and Paul Stamets did a lot of this, where you put like oyster mushrooms in an area that's been polluted with oil and fuel and stuff, and it actually absorbs into the mushroom. It drags it out of the soil. But unfortunately, it still grows. But if you ate that, you'd be consuming that. So obviously, that's the extreme side. But if you scale it back and you go, say, if I was growing this, I didn't have my filter system, and I was in the middle of a suburban area, all that pollution that's in the air, which is filled with, you've got heavy metals and like bad, smog essentially is going to end up in your mushrooms, and then you're going to end up consuming that essentially. That's why I'm so particular on what we do, sort of thing. So that's why, it's super important. Even like the water sort of thing. Anything that's in their environment, they'll absorb. And this relates back to humans as well. We share so much DNA with fungi. It's like, and what I've noticed in this, it's what I always say to people, it's so important about keeping your house, your environment where you live, like clean, healthy, no harsh chemicals and stuff, because we're no different essentially, because that affects our health. And that's just lessons that I've learned from obviously dealing with mushrooms. But yeah, sorry, I know I went a little bit long-winded, but yeah, going back to the environments, yeah, separate environments. Obviously, yeah, incubation, laboratory, they're sort of together, and then obviously the grow room, and then there's a section obviously where I do my mixing and everything like that as well with making the substrates up. So, but yeah, a lot of time and effort's gone into it. But ideally, when obviously increasing sales because the business does run for itself now. I don't have to invest any in it, but where ideally it is, I do have a bit of land. I want to get build a small facility in the backyard, so then I can not only further the business, but obviously start doing more research into, like I said, AM fungi and better growing practices. So then I can offer other things to industries and obviously the environment is where I'm sort of heading in my life, I guess, essentially with the business and the long-term goals.
That's awesome, Ryan. Ryan, in the room, are you like growing vertically to sort of make the most out of sort of the room that you have?
Yeah, correct. So everything is, yeah, obviously we use shelving sort of thing, except for cordyceps. So cordyceps is a very like a flat plane sort of thing. So in that one is actually my largest tent. It's taking up a lot of room to do cordyceps, but that one is just straight across flat. It's just the way how I grow it. It's just a lot easier because I just need the light to get down. It uses different lighting on there, and the lighting I have to use draws a lot of heat too. So it's just a better way that I can manage the temperatures in there. But when you come to yeah, you should shiitakes and lion's mane, turkey tail, and reshis, yeah, they're vertical. And though if I do it that way, because I only have a small operation, I'm able to balance the temperatures. So because like shiitake, like I said, is about 18 to 19 degrees or 20 is roughly a good spot for that to grow. I can keep that lower in the tent. And then if I have the lion's mane, which is probably good from 19 to 21, which is a little bit higher, I have that at a higher level in the tent. And then I can balance that up and balance the temperatures so they can both grow just to manage the size of my operation. And then moving on to like Reshi. Reshi is from like 24 degrees up is like a sweet spot, whereas turkey tail is like 24 degrees and below is a sweet spot. So again, managing those, and I'm able to actually like through good air movement and practices with like heating and cooling, I'm able to balance like going from cordyceps, which has to sit like it's sweet spot for me. I've found is like 16 to 18 is like really good, all the way over to Reshi, which is only 7 meters away, or like sorry, less than that, even like 5 meters away, and it's up at 24 degrees. So having that all in the one location and being able to balance that over that is took me a while to manage that and trial and error, but been able to do it for now. But ideally, yeah, down the track would be separate. Each one will have their own room, sort of thing. So then, as we scale up against the business, so but yeah, it's just a better way of doing that. And on top of that too, we use I don't know if you've seen it, so the grow room we use like a plastic shelving as well, just easier to clean. I can break it all up every time we finish a grow. And not only that, again, this is where I go. I'm very particular about, when I say about the environment, because started using metal shelving, and I've noticed this online when other people use it too. But the metal shelving starts to rust, and look, some obviously your reshis, turkey tails, and lion's mane, they're in bags, so it's not concerning. But if you've got something like, your reshi, that's a block that's open. And like, I just don't want to take that risk if it's gonna, the rust is gonna break down and then metals are gonna add into that. I just can't do that. So obviously use the plastic ones, they're gonna last a lifetime sort of thing. They are polycarbonate, so they can eventually be recycled as well anyway. And then obviously I move the metal into my incubation room that's where I choose them. And I found that's just a better practice essentially, sort of thing.
That's awesome, Ryan. And Ryan, each batch, how long does it take to grow? How long is each cycle? And then do you then dry the mushrooms? Do you sell it as is? Do you then break it down into liquids? Tell me about that.
Yeah, so every every mushroom has its like own time frame essentially. I think the longest one, we'll go with shiitake. So shiitake, it takes about 8 weeks for it to fully colonize the block, and then popcorn is what they call it. So it sort of gets these little bumps all over it. And then from there, you got to stimulate it, give it a bit of a smack. So then acts as like a, what it's doing. It's the same as if you put small voltages into your into the mushrooms as well. It just stimulates it. So, but the smacking is like a, if you think about a log or a tree falling in the forest, and then it's initiating it, going, oh, okay, cool. I'm a saprophytic fungi. That's my job to break down the wood. It's sort of activating it, and then you hit it with water, and then from there, it's like one week to 2 weeks, you get your first flush, and then if you wet it again, you get another flush. If you look at something like lion's mane, from inoculation to grow, like, it can happen within a month, sort of thing, very quickly. And same with Reishi, very aggressive strain, sort of inoculates less than a month, and then it's about 2 weeks after putting in the tent, and it starts producing. And then same with turkey tail as well. So very quick. Cordyceps a little bit different. The cordyceps is, I grow that on a completely different substrate. So it's not, I know people say this, and I've heard this in the industry. It's like, oh, I don't grow on rice, but we actually grow really good brown rice in this country, and I use brown rice as the substrate. Obviously, there's a ton of vitamins and minerals that have to go in, because you're kind of reverse engineering a bug, essentially, to grow parasitic fungi, which is cordyceps. So it's with that one, it's like 2 weeks of incubation, and then it's like 2 weeks, and then it starts growing, sort of thing. So it's about a month for that one as well. But it's just a little bit different on that one. It's like I said, it's cordyceps has been a bit of a testing one. It's sort of a bit strange on how it sort of grows. So, but yeah, going to it, every mushroom is a little bit different. Some you can do, if you get into your oysters, mushrooms, they can be within a month, start to finish from inoculation. You've got oysters, mushrooms in your hand. So it's really, Reishi is the long haul one, sort of thing. But it's worth it. Reishi, sorry, not Reishi, Shiitake. Shiitake is the long one. But it's worth it. I love shiitake. It's my favorite mushroom. It is. I eat it every morning for breakfast. It's really good for you. It tastes really good, especially if you dice it, put it with some soy sauce. Works on everything except pizza. It's just a really fantastic mushroom. Oh, and sorry, yeah, sorry, you did ask me a question. And drying and that. So, sorry, I meant to finish that. So, after we grow it, yeah, look, I'll eat some of my shiitake. I grow some myself separately, just for myself. Sometimes I have a bit of excess, and I pass that on to customers, like, because not necessarily my customers through the business, but obviously I still have a full-time job. So sometimes it's like a bit of a, well, not a gimmick, but some people ask me, and if I have some excess, I give some out for free. But all my mushrooms, yeah, once they've been grown, they get dried straight away, broken down, and then the extraction process starts, essentially. So before that, I actually used to dry and keep them in sealed plastic and vacuum seal it, which was biodegradable. But I've moved away from that. One, because look, I'm a bit look, I'm all for sustainability, but I get a bit nervous with biodegradable plastics and stuff, because they leach over time, and it's like, understanding, I don't have time to fully go through that at the moment and see how long that process is. So for peace of mind for me, when I dry, and when I'm dry and grind it down, I'm waiting for it to turn into a tincture and go through that process. I actually store it in glass jars. I just, I can seal it. I can do it all that way, and it's just, I know glass is just a pure thing. It's just not going to leach. I'm, like I said, I'm very particular about this, because anything in the process of extraction, growing, I don't want that in my mushrooms, because I don't want my customers having any foreign parts, sort of thing. Because again, there is a metric around the world with parts per million of, how much metal can be in mushrooms. And although we haven't done a third party testing, once we get to that particular point, I know ours is going to be like, we'll be the least in the world from the processes I do, 100% something. Because I've looked at a lot of online reports of people's testing, and I've seen they're not far off the mark of like the world limit, and I don't agree with the world limit personally. I think it's too high, and we should be addressing things like that, because it's important of what we eat and consume. So although they're not consuming, it's still taking in tinctures, and that process again. I don't want that. I don't want my DNA or anything in something that anyone else is going to produce. I'm so particular about that.
I'm assuming a lot of your customers are buying your mushrooms for different health benefits.
Mm.
What are the different health benefits of the 4 or 5 strains that you're growing?
So, so if you look at lion's mane, obviously they've done a lot of research into lion's mane, and Queensland University did the most recent study. So they found that the hericemaric acids, which is the key compound, actually helps reconnect neurons in the brain. So that one is a really good one. Obviously, going to get your vitamins and minerals, and it's good. It's got B12 in it, so it's good for obviously vegans who are looking for supplements like that. But it's more of the yeah, when you take lion's mane, you start to know in the first like 2 days, you know, it just helps with like memory, focus. You can take a lot more on. And that is like, I think that's the biggest benefit of that is just the activation of the brain, especially for someone like me, like working so many hours and 7 days a week, and then doing like I got to research. I'm actually learning piano and that, like being able to just constantly load more information on more information and just being able to handle that has been is such is like the big benefit of lion's mane. So if you're someone who struggles, like you know, you wake up Monday morning, you go to work and you're like sitting there going, oh, I can't think today. It's like this is where lion's mane, you have that and this is going to give you that boost for the day and like it helps. And then the longer you take it, it's like, yeah, your brain is just activated and you can just like I said, depending on who you are, you can just keep loading stuff on. It'll help you read, concentrate, and then retain the information. If you look at something like a reishi has tryptanoids, which is really good for like any inflammatory immunity, but it actually helps you de-stress and relax. So like that's why it's a nighttime one. You have it at night, and I actually have it with turkey tail as well. But you have that, and it helps you de-stress, calm down, and then it obviously helps you manage stress the longer you have it. So again, loading if you've got a life that loads a lot on, but it helps you get to sleep as well and have a deeper sleep, sort of thing. So. But the big thing with that one, I think the immunity and anti-inflammatory components are really great with Reishi. But the stress is the stress thing is a great part to it as well. Like I said, again, if you got a life that's very stressful and it's things like that, you will notice like you get a lot more calmer with Reishi when you have it sort of thing and able to manage situations. Then if you go to like turkey tail, again, it's a big immunity thing, has PSK in there. Obviously, there's a lot of studies around the world what they've done with that stuff, which some things we can't say in Australia. But it's yeah, it's super good for immunity. Acts as a prebiotic, so it's really good for gut health as well. Helps the digestive system, and it's a natural way of doing it, sort of thing. So Shiitake, really high in psyllium, and that's why they call it. I think, like a lot of people said out, it's like the beauty mushroom essentially. Like it's really good for hair, skin, and nails. So it's not going to help like regrow your receding hairlines and that. But like since I've been taking shiitake, obviously I eat it for breakfast as well as tincture. But like my hair, you know, is thicker, my skin's nicer, my nails grow nice, and everything. Like I noticed those big changes in that. And that's why, yeah, I love shiitake. Plus, it gives you a little bit of energy as well, because again, all these, like I said, are very dense in vitamins and minerals. And then one that I like, well, I'd probably say it's out of my top three would be cordyceps. So cordyceps is just raw energy. So the best way to say is like it's good for instead of as a pre-workout for going to the gym. It'll give you a full day of activation, no crash, and then you just sort of come out of it. It's like it's something else, but it's helped. Obviously, for men, it helps increase testosterone, increases lung capacity, and so I say it's good for the gym. But yeah, it's just that raw energy. So to give you an example, like I said, my first job, I work as like a high level sales, obviously because you know I'm at that level, and I do a lot of stuff with you know on big government projects and things like that. So I do a lot of presentations and things like that. So you do an hour presentation, so up speaking, that's the same raw energy as someone who's doing laboring for a day. So before taking cordyceps, I would notice like I could do a presentation and then I'd be like lethargic afterwards, you know, struggling a little bit. But since I've had cordyceps, it's like it doesn't matter. There's like yeah, I could do like five presentations in a day, and then you still just it really just gives you that kick. Like I can go to the gym. I work out 4 days a week, but when I go to the gym, like I do 3 days at home, and then I go to the gym one day. I can do 2 hours in the gym and walk out like I just walked in. So I'm not exhausted or anything. It is amazing, that mushroom. But the big thing I think, and especially for men, that's because it's happening at the moment, we've got a decline in obviously the sperm rates and testosterone in men. So typical men, like I'm 39 years old, so a typical men around my age is anywhere from like 16 to 19 nanomoles per liter of is their testosterone, and 19 that's really great, in that's the consideration in Australia, and like most 18-year-olds are around like 19, 20. So since taking cordyceps, I was actually 19, so I wasn't too bad, but I'm actually 24.9, and a year on from like doing it, I'm still sitting at that level. So the body is regulating it. It's because obviously I do blood tests and manage just to make sure everything's working right, check the liver, and I go through all this constantly sort of thing just to make sure what I'm putting out. Like I start checking on myself first. But yeah, it's amazing that, like, so it's, especially as you get older, this is the age where your testosterone drops off. Essentially, mine is at a very high level, and it's natural. I don't have to use like these crazy supplements, or like, getting hormone replacement, or like, sorry, testosterone shots or anything like that. I'm literally just taking a natural supplement. So no side effect whatsoever, essentially. So it's just, yeah, I think Cordyceps, obviously, I'm about to release that. I'm going to probably, I was supposed to release it Monday, but I'm actually going to set it up today, and it's ready to go. There'll be a small batch, the first one, but it's just, I'm really excited about that one because, yeah, it's amazing. But all of them are great. I think, if you, five is, like, I know some people out there, they do six. I've kind of talked about this, about chaga and, or the mataki, and five is really, I'm comfortable with that. I don't think that the body should be taking any more, because obviously it's minimal amounts of alcohol in the tincture, and I've found that this is the right limit. I think you're only having a mill a day, and it's spread over a 24-hour cycle, essentially like a day and night, because the body works on a 12-hour cycle anyway when it processes. So you have all your activation ones through the day, and then your other ones at night. And doing that is obviously a better way for your body. I think at this level, from what I'm taking, I just can't see the benefit in going. Well, one, I don't want to do chaga because I obviously that's a parasitic fungi, and I'm kind of against that. I think it's unsustainable, and I would have to import it. I couldn't actually grow that because it takes so long to grow on the side of a tree. And then mataki, I look, there's benefits to mataki, but it just doesn't. There's not enough benefits in there for me to take it on to then sell it as a product. I don't want to just add things, just be like, oh yeah, take this, it's great and it'll do all this thing. I'm not that kind of person. I want genuine benefits for people, and then get the right results out of it. I don't want to just release products and then be like, this is a new thing. Like, I don't want to say it's bad. There's not, it's like, I know it's very rich in polysaccharides and beta glucans, but some of the other mushrooms, you're already getting quite a lot of that anyway. And there's a limit to how much the body can absorb as well throughout the day without pushing it all through. So, but yeah, sorry, long-winded, but yeah, that's kind of the benefits, and that's the reasons of where what I do essentially on the mushrooms.
I love that, Ryan. And Ryan, if someone was on like a budget where they were looking to spend, say, $10 a week, $500 a year, what would you recommend them? What would give them the highest return on their money, whether it's improving their sleep, having more productivity throughout the day? What could they do with that budget? And I guess if they were to take all five, how much would that cost a week?
That's a good point. So I haven't updated it with the fifth. So I do, like, when you buy more, like, you do get a percentage off. I guess I always say, look, I know all of them give you great benefits. I always push for lion's mane, reishi, and obviously cordyceps first. I would say those three. Like, obviously cordyceps is the new one. Only for the fact, especially with lion's mane, is, look, and you live in Australia, you would know this. Like, we live in stressful times now. Like, the economy's crazy. It's a mess. The country, there's so much divide in this country, which is really sad to see. And I guess all of that, for the average person who's like working on and struggling, they're just trying to make ends meet, and then having to deal with all that stress. Having something like lion's mane is going to, obviously, again, it's going to help with your focus and brain. So then you can continue on at work, and sort of do that. Obviously, reishi for, like, to get that better night's sleep. And then if you really need the energy, or you're drinking too much coffee or something like that, that's when you get the cordyceps. So how do I say? It's like, if you were buying it $60, it's 100 mils, it's 2 mils a day. Obviously, you're going to get, it's roughly you're gonna get 50 days of use out of it essentially. So it's like a dollar, like around a dollar, so just a bit over a dollar, a dollar a week. Sorry, $1 a day, just per serving. But from that, look at the benefits you're getting. You know, like you buy a coffee and it's only lasting a couple of hours. You know, and then you're taking that, and what's a coffee now? Like $6.50 sort of thing. Like so, and a coffee's not really doing anything. If you, depending on when you have it, it's really kind of blocking your tide receptors. It's not really giving you. It's a false energy sort of thing. That's why I say about cordyceps is it's real raw energy, whereas a coffee isn't. Essentially, it's just a mask. So I guess they're probably the three I always gravitate. Look, shiitake is really good, but I want to push them too. And like turkey tail and shiitake don't sell as high. Like lion's mane, we sell like you know they go like hotcakes at a hobo's wedding, sort of thing. They just like constantly turn over. I think I got people like order five at a time from me, sort of thing with lion's mane. So and I understand that sort of thing. Like that is a one to gravitate to, but yeah, I would say they're the main ones to go for. Look, I'd love to sell them all, but yeah, if people are on a budget and they're looking to jump onto something that's going to give them like great results straight up, look, go to Lion's Mane straight up. Cordyceps, then Reishi. If you are very stressed and you are thinking, go to Reishi straight away, sort of thing. So it's the other two. Look, obviously, if you can afford it, because look, I understand times are tough. People are really on the limit at the moment. And I feel bad. Like it sucks. Like I want to give more of a discount. Like I did the Black Friday sale, but I like unfortunately just because the ingredients of what I do and the costs in it, like I just can't. I can and like I know because I have seen people that buy off me online constantly, and you know, I've seen that they've in the last 6 months their orders are reduced to like they're only buying one bottle now where they would buy three. I can see it's hitting people hard. They still want to have that, and they're struggling. A lot of people are struggling out there. Like, look at me. I'm running a business, and I'm still working a high performing job at the same time. Sort of thing, just to you know, it's because you know, obviously bills have to be paid. You know, mortgages and things like that. Just money doesn't grow on trees. So but yeah, if you're looking for something like that, look, I always say, yeah, go to those ones. It's gonna give you the best benefits straight away, and then hopefully, fingers crossed, as economy builds up, yeah, open the range and try some more if you can. But look, I'm blessed if you buy one off me. I'm always grateful for every order I get. Like one thing like I said, I don't have to be the number one in the market because I already feel like I'm successful with what I've done now with the business essentially sort of thing. So yeah, look, buying one is you know if that helps you and I can help so many people and I get great feedback. I think that's a beautiful thing to me sort of thing. I feel like I've already won sort of thing. So yeah.
And then Ryan, were you saying each one, are they all around the same cost? That each one would be around $1 per day if you were to break it down? So if you had three, that'll be $3 a day, I guess, or five.
Essentially, yeah. So they're all the same price. Look, cordyceps. I struggle with this one because this one does cost me a lot more. Because a lot more like has to go into the ingredients, and that'll come in time and I'll bring it down. But obviously, I've kept it the same. Sort of thing. I've never changed my price limit. It's always been 60. I used to do a $50 special at the markets because obviously I'm not sending it out. There's no boxes and things like that. But yeah, it would be the same price as a thing. If you were buying multiple bottles, obviously that discount does come down. I think I'm up to 15% when you buy four bottles. And I'll probably looking at, I've got to just manage that, but it'll probably be 20% when you buy the full five. But you don't have to buy, you know, each five of that. Like I said, some people come and buy five lines made at one time and they still get that same discount. I wanted to do it that way because, you know, some people just love that mushroom and that's completely fine sort of thing. I know I think other people do it. I sort of try and ignore what others are doing, but I think people try lock you into subscriptions and things like that, or try force you to buy certain packs. Oh, look, I don't want to do that. I want people to have the flexibility and them to make the right sort of choice. I just produce. I tell you what we do and do that, and I want people to have the right information and then make the right choice when it comes to making that purchase. Essentially,
I love that. Something that I've always was born with is I've always had eczema. Sort of just inflammation of the skin, always itchy. And right now I've been sort of forced to use steroid sort of cortisol type cream that sort of suppresses the inflammation. Do you reckon any of these mushrooms might help with my eczema?
Yeah, so it's funny that like my Tongan brother, my brother from another mother, I have a few different brothers, but my Tongan brother had a has a same condition, actually has it quite bad. And when I gave him shiitake, and he did notice improvements in his skin. Still has to use like some creams and that, but he did notice a bit of a change. What I always say with that, and people with eczema, yeah, look, obviously, shiitake is really good for that thing. However, there's other factors. I don't know. Have you considered like, do you use filtered water at home for your shower and things like that? So I always, look, it's good to say, come buy my product and do this, but I think there's other ways that potentially like, because like the water we get off from obviously from our water supply is not great. It's horrible water essentially, and buying a shower head that may do that is probably a good way too, because then you're breaking down the chlorine and stuff and the heavy metals. I always say, look, try things like that because I did this obviously to my Tongan brother as well, and he's noticed improvements doing that. Like he got a shower head that has a filtration system. So I like to say that, yeah, look, obviously, shiitake will help to an extent, but sometimes there's other factors involved that potentially could help as well, sort of thing. So, yeah, look, I would say, yeah, shiitake. I'm happy to for doing this. I might send you out a bottle of shiitake if you like to try and see how you go. But I always suggest try some other things. Like remember I said about the environment earlier and how you live. Like if you factor in some of those things, you might find that you can actually do some other improvements as well. It's all these little bits, you know what I mean, and it all adds up. So yeah, you could take a bit of tincture. You might get a different natural product that's good for the skin, and then if you change, your shower head to what you wash in and stuff, then you combine all these together, and then you're going to get the result you're sort of looking for, sort of thing. Because yeah, look, obviously steroid creams and things like that, long term is it's not great, and yeah, no, hear it again. I know what you go through because I hear from my Tongan brother about the stresses that he has, sort of thing. But he has, by doing things like that, has actually got some improvement or noticed that essentially.
Love that. And Ryan, when you're sort of taking 5 of these mushrooms every day and you're getting all these benefits, let's say you travel, let's say you're just in a situation where you just don't have access to any more. Do you have a rebound? Does your body just crash without it? Yeah.
So yes, I've tested this. It's not a crash. So for the 3 days. So if you're taking all five, 3 days after, what I've noticed is it's just you don't feel as energetic and everything, and then you sort of go back to normal. Obviously, because it's putting you at a high level, because it's feeding you these heavy vitamins and compounds. Your brain's going to go at a high level. You're not having a crash. You wake up, but you just won't be as like you know as focused and everything after just for it's around 3 days. That's what I've noticed. And then after that, it's sort of, you just go back to normal. Obviously, you're not going to be performing at the same level. You won't have the same energy, but it's not like it's not a crash or you like get withdrawals or you feel sick or anything like that. You're just not going to feel as like activated essentially. And that's only going to be purely like, pulling back from like your lion's mane or, your cordyceps sort of thing essentially are going to be the only ones you're going to notice. The others, not necessarily, because like Reishi will sort of notice in the first couple of nights with obviously sleep and stuff. Turkey tail is like, yeah, again with the gut health sort of thing. But even if you're taking them, they're like that process isn't going to sort of go, oh, or your gut starts going playing up straight away or anything. No, so nothing like that will happen. It's just the energy and the activation that you're going to notice, sort of thing, like 3 days after, sort of thing. Because yeah, went through that, trial that. It's just not as yeah. So you're just not as energetic, but it's not a crash. It's not you're like yeah, you're not having withdrawals or anything like that. So that was again one of the tests I did early stages. I went through all of this purposely just to make sure again. Because I didn't want to bring something out and like yeah, I want to make something that's right for people essentially, sort of thing. And yeah, I don't want people to have it and then say they can't afford it and then they're like, oh no, my life's over, sort of thing. So yeah, it's not a withdrawal thing. It's just you like for 1 or 2 days you just won't feel as activated because obviously you're going from a high level to a lower level, and then obviously you just get used to it, and then you're back to normal essentially, sort of thing.
Ryan, if I was on a budget, would I be able to sort of do the lion's mane every second day, every third day consistently? Would that
100%.
work?
100%. So I have people that, and this is what I always say, look, 2 mil is the max, but I remember there was a girl at the markets. What did she do? She wrote her company was Beach Nips or something. She does these little covers for people who want to, like women who want to tan, and does do that. So, and I said to her, I was like, do 2 mils. That's a max, and see how you go. So she did 2 mils, and she found it was too much. So she scaled it back, and she was having a mil a day, or like have it every second day. One of my other customers, he does it, so he puts it in his water. He's the same, so he only has it every second day, sort of thing, and spaces it out. So yeah, it depends on the person. Everyone's going to be a little bit different, sort of thing. So obviously, because I take the maximum because, like I said, I'm doing so much. I have a lot on my plate. I need every bit of, without tinctures, I'd be struggling. I could do it, but I'd be struggling. Whereas some people may not need that. They probably just need a little bit of a boost, sort of thing. Yeah, 100%. Every you can take it every second day, do a mill, and then yes, that potentially can turn into 100 days out of it, sort of thing. So that's why I always say, take the most, see how you feel, then have a scale back, try half, and then see how you feel off that. And it's probably you just got to find that level which suits you, sort of thing. Like that's why I say up to 1 to 2 mils. It's purely every person's going to be different. And I stress this with like supplements where people I know they can't like advertisers and they're like, oh, if you do this, it's going to do this, it's going to do this for you. And it's like, yeah, it will, but everyone's going to be slightly different on how that feels to them, And I think that's why everyone. I guess it's being in tune with your body. Listen to what's fit. Well, listen to what your body's saying. So when you take something, I do this with like food, everything. It's like if you take something, it's like see what it's doing to you. How do you feel when you take that? What is your body saying to you? Like listen in, sort of thing. I go, and then that's a good way. I always say that's a great indicator. Like you go further and do blood tests and things like I do. You don't have to go to that extreme. If you just like listen to what your body's telling you, essentially, I think you can get a lot out of it. But yeah, you don't have to take the max. You can spread it out and you will still get the same benefits.
Now thinking about it, when I visited one of my friend's house, he had a box full of lion's mane, and I think it was all tablets. I think that he had, or I might be wrong. So you have it in actual, like a sort of a liquid form.
Yeah, so mine obviously the tinctures. I've got them up here. I want to get into my next stage. Probably that's the next progression of products. But that'll be obviously it's sales depending. Obviously we need to take on a bit more work because I need to get a freeze dry to do it as properly, essentially. And that's a $10,000 investment essentially. So, because a lot of people out there, what I've seen is they're just grinding down the mushroom and then they're capping that and then passing it on. That's not an extract. You actually have to do a proper extract of like powder form or tablets. You actually have to go through a similar process to making a tincture and then removing the alcohol and then drying it out. This is why you need the what is it, freeze dries thing, which is again, it's another investment. So it's going to come down the track because to do it properly, look, obviously tinctures are going to be the most potent out of everything in the market. Then your powders, then maybe your gummies, and then your mixers with coffee, because obviously there's a separation between there. So that's why when tinctures first, you're most potent. But obviously not everyone. Some people get a bit nervous about the alcohol and obviously the Muslim brothers as well. Like some people do take it. Like my doctor, he takes my lion's mane and he's Muslim because he sees it as a health and medicinal. But some won't because purely of the alcohol content. It depends on how they pick their religion. Each person's very different, sort of thing. But then if I could do powders, and it just opens it to people or even younger people, essentially, sort of thing. I think that's probably the market would be great. So because I'd like it to be open to a lot of people. I don't see some people do non-alcoholic and they use glycerin extract. The problem is with that, and I did try it. It's just it's not. It's like it's less than powders. It's like gummy. It's almost like coffee mixed with coffee, sort of thing. I don't think again, I don't want to release a product that I don't feel comfortable with. That someone's like, oh, I got a little bit or something like that, where it's not going to give you that much benefit. I want everyone to get the most out of what I do. So when I can do that properly, then that's the next stage, which is yeah, powders, which I'd love to do that, but I need to do it properly. I don't want to just yeah grind the mushroom down. I think that's really immoral and it's wrong. It's wrong essentially, sort of thing. So
Got it. And Ryan, I think you mentioned earlier you start with a rice, brown rice, and then based on different minerals that you combine it with, it will grow into a different mushroom. Is that how it works?
Oh, no, no. So that's cordyceps. So cordyceps, I use that because again, like a cordyceps, obviously a parasitic fungi. It usually attaches itself to bugs and then uses that. So growing it that way was, I reverse engineered a bug to really break down the, biology of a bug and all the minerals and everything which make up which is the makeup of a bug and I isolated them of what I've determined right, and that's how I sort of got cordyceps to grow really well. And it's like obviously there's someone I can't tell you all my full recipe, but it's a massive list when it comes to cordyceps, where it's still quite a lot when the other ones but it's very common. You got your wood substrate rye grain for this is for all the other ones besides cordyceps. So I use like a natural wood. I use organic rye grain and then again vitamins and minerals that go into that as well. And then I use this special I call it jungle juice sauce, which is a plant action an organic extract with all which has a highly dense vitamin and mineral content, which then I add to the substrate essentially. It's just pretty much my philosophy is like in the wild, and this is where, like I said, I did a lot of research at first, growing, in my backyard, outside, and then watching what fungi did. So like when it grew, what was happening at that point, like the temperatures and that, what was going on in the soil, what vitamins and minerals was it doing? Like I really got deep down into this, and then by identifying everything that I noticed naturally, I just kind of naturally again did it, but I did it, I guess I say on steroids sort of thing. So I did it at a high level and reduced instead of it going looking for it, I gave it to it at the right time when it's looking for it. I guess is the simplest way to say it. Because, fungi goes looking for vitamins, minerals, and that's how it survives. And that's, when it's breaking down a tree, it's getting a cellulose and things like that for it to survive, and then obviously it drops its spores and moves on. But what I'm doing is just getting everything that it's looking at and just giving it to it at the right time in its highest volume without doing it. It's like everything's the right measurement. This is what I said earlier about the start, where I said, I had all those problems where it didn't work and stuff. And that's where I really fine-tuned down to like the mill, like down to the mill of vitamins and minerals and like water content and everything that's gone into it. It's like, because you're really like you've got to have the right moisture level, because if you don't, then it faults. If you have too much moisture, it does like the fungi won't grow. It's really, you've got to be really sort of fine tune that. Like you can still manage it, but to grow really high class, you have to do that. It's like a lot goes into it. So, but yeah, the brown rice, we use a biodynamic one, brown rice. It's an organic Australian. Everything's Australian that I put into it. So I'm very particular on that. All our ingredients are Australian. Sort of thing. I'm very like I know people get it from overseas, but the issue is with that the transportation things can get in along the way, and then when you go to do an extract, you've got other spores, contaminants that are in there, and then you're consuming that. Yeah, possibly it's probably not going to do that, but like this is where I'm just like, nah, I separate that whole process. I start and finish, so it's grow, extract everything in the one place, and then it pulls out the product. There's no transportation, and that to an extent too goes into obviously sustainability as well, because things aren't getting shipped here and there. It's only, like obviously I get supplies shipped here, but then it goes out the door as a product. So there's no, I send it to this person and this person travels to here and then, I bottle it here and then drop it over there or things like that. So all those things is like contaminants and then the sustainability part. It just works better doing it this way, essentially, start to finish.
The tincture that you have, how long does it last for? Can you like have it for a whole year and it'll still be just as potent?
Yeah, so look, this is what I always say. I've done tests and like I've run it outside, kept the bottle and stuff because of the alcohol content. Obviously, that's going to keep it right. However, you want to keep it, and I always say, look. keep it in a dark, cool place or keep it in the fridge because you want to keep that at a lower temperature, the alcohol, because that's what's keeping it from spoiling essentially. But you don't want the alcohol to evaporate out either because then again, then you're going to lose the potency. So I always usually put about 6 months, and that's growing on the bottles with expiry. Essentially, if you keep it in the fridge, yeah, like look, you'll get it, no worries. I've seen like because obviously I run experiments on the expiry of it, and I've had stuff that and I'm not putting this out there to people who try my tincture or something, like go off the recommended what's on the bottle, but I have gone to limits where I've gone over, yeah, a year from having it outside and doing things like that without any spoiling or like how long until the alcohol dissipates, and that's without cooling or anything. So I do know it does last quite a while, but I always say it's like, yeah, keep it in the fridge and that keeps the alcohol low temperature. But not only that, it's just then when you open your fridge, it's there ready for you in the morning. It's just a good reminder because I've had a lot of people and it's like they bought my tinctures and then they take it, maybe take it once and forget about it. And then I get a message from them, they're like, I had one person message me and he's like, oh, it's like a year ago he bought it. He's like, is this still good? I've taken it for a year. And I was like, oh man, why did you take it? You spent the money on it. Like you're missing all the benefits. He's like, it's still good. And I'm like, I couldn't give him a definitive answer because I didn't know what he was, how he was storing it or what it. And I said, look, I can't give you that answer, mate. I'm sorry. Like, what does the bottle say? Has it passed the expiry on the bottle? Look, I said to him, look, I'm not too sure, man. Like, unfortunately, I can't give you that thing because it's gone past the expiry. And so it just depends. Like, but you're definitely 6 months. If you carry travel with it, pull it out of the fridge, open, close it, do that thing, accidentally leave it in the car, like 6 months, you won't have an issue at all. But and like at the end of the day, you're going to consume it before then anyway. That's the realistic of it. Like I said, even if you're having one meal, that's 100 days. It's like you're going to have it before that time is up. Essentially, like within 3 months is probably going to be your max. Essentially, so but yeah, it'll 6 months open close, no issues at all. But if you keep it in the fridge and you're very particular, yeah, you'll get a year. You get a year if you wanted to do it over a year. And each their own, I guess. If that works, look, I'm happy. I just want to make my customers happy. That's all that matters to me.
And Ryan, when you go ahead and do these experiments to see how long it lasts for, how are you testing the tincture to see if there's still a X percent of whatever chemical you're looking for? How do you test for its potency usually on your own?
So I do that by extracting how much alcohol is left into the actual tincture over time, sort of thing. So I do separation. So very similar to how I do it now, and it's another extract on itself essentially, but it's like measuring it at the start and then measuring the amount of alcohol that's in there, and like that's how I'm basing in my studies at the moment. Because again, like I said, once the alcohol's in there, essentially like that should keep it if it's cooled and post. That's going to keep it its longest thing and the water is going to be the last thing to evaporate out. That's going to take a lot of time. You'll need a lot of heat, air movement, and everything. But if you removed all the alcohol out of there, the water's going to get contaminated quite easily. Once the spore gets in there, it's potentially it's gonna spoil. So that's how I do it. Yeah, I separate from the start process. I measure it obviously from my extract and do it, and then I do another extract at periods throughout over the time to see how much the result. So that's why I said by the end of it, I noticed after like a year of opening, closing, moving it around and stuff, I did notice it was like still had a minimal amount of alcohol, but it dropped 50% essentially by that stage. But up to the 9 month mark, it was still sitting at the right sort of level essentially. So it's just in those last 3 months sort of thing, but again, too, as I was running those experiments, it was coming into a hotter time. So again, that's heat that's getting generated, which is obviously going to help with the evaporation process as well. So again, the cooler months, mountain stays relatively cool up here. We're actually good. Well, I'm at a good elevation, but it's actually pretty cool most of the year. But summer it still gets quite hot up here as well. So yeah, but that's how I did it. It's just measurement over time and then seeing the results from based on that of what we get.
Yeah. And Ryan, you talk about starting with the wood. Where do you source the wood? Yeah.
So I first started off using chipped wood when I first started, but it's just I couldn't get that down to a price. And I'd like to move back to that eventually if I can get a proper chipper and stuff like that and getting my own and sourcing my own wood and breaking it down myself. But I actually get it from there's a supplier up in Queensland that does it, and they actually grow their own fungi as well, sort of thing. So I've got it for a few places, but I found that their natural wood is actually actually really good. I like it, sort of thing. So yeah, I just source it, and they're a mushroom grower themselves essentially, but they sell that as an offshoot. So that's where I get it now. Eventually, because I'd like to. One thing I've noticed in the mountains, and I've been experimenting this on the side, is like obviously we have massive bushfires in the mountains at times throughout the years, and there's all this like wood waste constantly, like branches are falling and everything like that. And a lot of it we have eucalyptus trees and everything. So I've sort of been playing with a bit of that at the moment to see if potentially, like I said, moving forward, could I, chip my own wood and then break it down myself based off, recycling wood that, instead of it ending up being fuel for a potential bushfire down the track, I can use that. And then one, everyone's going to get like a super like clean product, Blue Mountains wood. But two, it's helping, fix the land and preventing bushfires essentially. So I went looking at that, but again, it's another scale, it's another piece of machinery. It's like, yeah, I just at the everything's you got to stage a business because if you go too hard too soon, I funded myself. I funded myself, and now it's the business that I needed to fund itself, sort of thing. So obviously that's determined on obviously increase on sales and things like that because a lot of that stuff is quite expensive. But yeah, that's where I want to move to. But yeah, it's just there is a lot of suppliers around Australia that do like again, Australia is we're really good with our produce and things, but like yeah, our wood is like we have some really good wood around Australia, and there's many suppliers. So yeah, at the moment I just use that, and same with the rye grain as well. Just get that from a local supplier.
That's awesome, right? And when you start with that wood, what is the difference that then would turn it into one of the four different strains of mushrooms you have?
So when you say that, so like how do you mean with like what would determine I would because I like we the wood mix I would use that for the same for shiitake, reishi, lion's mane, and turkey tail. So that one all they all use the exact same. The minerals very similar. I maybe change a little bit depending on each one, sort of thing, because some don't need as much as others, and they still grow to their thing, but they use all the same substrate essentially. Yeah, yeah, all four of them, sort of things.
So, how do you specifically grow a lion's mane versus a reishi? Do you start with like a mushroom seed? Is that how it works? And
Oh
there's
no, no
different seeds
spore.
or spores?
I get spores. I look. I'm very. Oh, well, I get spores sometimes, but now look. Obviously, I can harvest my own off my own product. But sometimes, still, like over time, I get others as well, just to see what's out there. We have some really good producers in this country. Like someone like if someone's getting into this, and they're looking for themselves. People like Root Lab is a really great supplier. I've used them before. There's Aussie farm suppliers. I've used them before, but I've also got strains from overseas as well, just to see how they sort of match up. But a lot of that is now I just do that as more of I just sort of monitor how mine is going, and then I do a competition between mine and what else is out there, just to see that I'm still producing the right, I'm extracting the right process based on what is out there. But essentially, yeah. So I'll get spores, whether it's collected myself or I get it from a supplier. So the process is then I go that on a petri dish. I'll then isolate and go through a few trials to pull strains from that I'm comfortable with and what I can identify. And when I say identify, is like I'm looking for really strong dominant strains that grow quick and obviously take over the substrate or the petri dish a lot, like and consume it, and then make it compete with other ones as well, just to see. So then after that process, I pull the best strain out. Then from there, it'll go to either a rye grain substrate, and that's what I'm going to use to inoculate, or I'll go to a liquid culture. So if I go to rye grain, you just take a few wedges out of the petri dish, and then drop that into the rye grain over a week, depending on the strain. Over the next week, you just got to break it up every couple of days just to sort of make it mix. And then what you use from there is then you just put a little bit in, your grow bags after you've done all your sterilization, and then it starts to grow. The liquid culture is a little bit different. So with the liquid culture, you actually have to extract the mycelium off the actual surface of the petri dish or like the agar medium, break it up into little little cubes, drop it into a like a actually I use them as my water bottle, but like a bottle like this, and I can usually drill a hole in the top with so it has a filter in there for air exchange, and then I'll have like a magnetic stirrer in there. So I'll drop them in. It has a, I'll use, depending, I'll use like a liquid culture may have, it has a few vitamins and minerals, but mostly just like like an organic honey with purified water. And then over the next like 48 hours at the right temperature, it'll spin. And what that does is it actually starts to create, it breaks all the little mycelium up, and then it starts to like create all these little things. So it goes from this into like a liquid culture, they say, essentially, and then from there I just pour a little bit on the substrate, and then away you go, sort of thing. So there's two different methods, and I use both. For cordyceps is purely liquid culture. It will not work with grain, just purely because again it's just not, that's not how the process works. You just, especially now, because actually going back to it, I did move cordyceps going into like plastic containers, but I've now had to just actually literally throw out a whole bunch because I don't think it is, but it looks like it's leaching. So now moving back to glass jars, and I know that's a very, it's a bigger process and a lot like thing, but the thing is that, like I said, I go back to the purity of glass. Obviously, I have to manage it to make sure, I'm constantly monitoring it to make sure there's no chips or anything like that. But the thing is with the plastic containers, so I would wash them, and then I'd clean them out, sterilize them. But then before I actually have to put in the medium, before I did that, I actually have to run them over a UV light. But because then that just does the final sterilization before I do it. The issue is with that is the UV light started breaking down the plastic, and I'm not comfortable with that, because again, I can't measure the leaching of that. It may not be, but eventually over time it will. I can see the color discoloration of the polycarbonate, and again, I'm not comfortable with that. And then I thought about it. I was like, oh, you know what, polycarbonate, yeah, look, we don't have the greatest recycling for that yet. It is costly. Then it still has a rubber seal. Then it has nylon glands. And then I was like, that's where I was like, okay, nah, this isn't going to work for me. And I've gone back to glass, essentially, sort of thing. Because again, once if it cracks the glass, I sterilize it, so I can put the grain into it. It gets all sterilized in one, so it's clean, everything. I don't have to use UV lights. And then if the glass breaks, it can be recycled. If the lids are only made out of aluminium, I can buy them and replace them. Everything can be recycled. It's maintained, but it's purely the glass. Glass is just pure. I wish I could do that with all mushrooms. I have done experiments where I've grown them in glass jars, but I can't yet. But I'm trying to find a way to make the others, to move away from the plastic. Even though I do break down the plastics bags that I use for the others, I'm just skeptical of using the biodegradable heat bags or the mushroom grow bags, which are now available. Again, because of the leaching, I'm not comfortable with that level yet. So, but constantly looking at ways that I can try and improve that process. But yeah. That's essentially it. Essentially, so
That's beautiful, Ryan. With the sort of the growth cycle and the different demands of customer purchasing throughout the years, how do you balance that? Do you always have excess stock? Are there times where you're sold out and you're just rushing to sort of grow some more? Are you changing the amount and the ratio of how much of what strains you're growing based on what you don't have much of? Yeah.
exactly what you said there. So obviously, when I first started, and this is where obviously the evolution of our tinctures. So when I first started, although our product was the purest, going to such a high scale, I did struggle with the first two batches with filtration process, because when you're doing experiments on a low level and then you take it to a high, and you've got to filter all of this stuff and bring it through. I over filtered the first two, whereas now obviously our product, I truly believe we are like the best. We've always been the purest, but like the potency is the best now. But the what I did notice at first, yeah, like I said, I think I said it earlier, the lion's mane and reishi are the most popular. So at first I did big batches of everything, so I lined them all up, everything, and then yeah, like I haven't to I've only had to do this on the first batch, but I had to throw out a bit of uh turkey tail and a bit of shiitake just because it just didn't sell, and it got to a point where I wasn't comfortable in packaging it up. So obviously, from based on that, which is again a business does this as well, you then focus more on your popular ones and then you put more effort into that of growing sort of thing. So I still grow. It's just that I reduce the amount of that I grow at shiitake and turkey tail sort of thing. Whereas I put a lot more into growing a lot more lion's mane and keeping a high level of that, as well as reishi sort of thing. It's not that I have less, but yeah, you've just got to manage it where it is. Like you've got to go to what's obviously the most popular, and that is, like I said, actually, like this week it's just been obviously because of the sale. I've just literally sold like Reishi and that included, but majority of it's been lion's mane this week. I've sold heaps and heaps of bottles this week. So, and that's why, yeah, look, obviously I focus on that. At the moment, Cordyceps, I know that one's going to be a big one. And that one's a very, Cordyceps is a hard one because it's so small, and then you have to grow so much, and then it goes from this, and then you dry it, and it's like down, and then you grind it, and then you're getting this such little like a bit of like little bit of grind up powder. So it's quite a lot, and that's why that one is again. I'm scaling that up now, but that's been I guess that's been the biggest challenge with that because yeah, when you get a big fruit body, I think I posted one the other day. Whereas like I only do small fruiting blocks. And obviously, the bigger the fruiting block, you will majority of the time that's how you're going to get big fruit bodies. When you see people and they've got these huge fruit bodies, that's because usually it's a big block. Like I get good sized mushrooms off small blocks, and I'm actually reducing the size now to down to a small level. So I actually did a shiitake one that was it's like a little plate essentially that's growing the same amount as a big block sort of thing. And again, this just reduces that, but cordyceps is just yeah, it's so much you need just to make a tincture. It's crazy. It's crazy. So that's why it's like I said before, that takes up the most space in my grow room is the cordyceps one. And we'll always do that, obviously, because it needs its own area. It's very spread out, but now that I'm moving to glass jars, I'm going to end up having hundreds of glass jars going at once just to maintain this sort of thing. But that's okay. Look, obviously, it's a lot more cleaning and effort. I know that I'm producing like a really like a pure product, and then like that just can't be matched sort of thing. Because everyone who does cordyceps that I've seen, they either grow it in aluminium foil tins with a plastic sheet over it. And again, it's not too bad, but again, it's not. It's you can recycle the aluminium, but the plastic again is just more waste. Or they're growing it in the plastic tubs, and from what I've seen with the plastic tubs, I'm not comfortable with that. So I'm going to glass at the moment until I don't think you'd ever get a glass container that you could grow them in. So it's probably going to be jars, but I'm okay with that sort of thing. So I work with it, and it works, and it produces the product that my customers deserve essentially.
Does your website, like if you sell out, does it then switch to pre-order or does it just mark as sold out? Has there ever been a time where that has happened where people just couldn't purchase and you're just losing money as people hit your website?
So I always keep look. I always keep ahead. I have had it couple of times in lion's mane, but it's only been a week or two, and then I do it because I like I said, because I do a long process, and my extraction process takes about 6 weeks. I have to keep a lot ahead anyway. I'm always ahead of the game, essentially. So I've always got a lot already pre-approved. But yeah, there has been one or two. I'm a little bit nervous with Cordyceps releasing this because the first batch isn't a massive batch, and the second one's going to take a like I said, because I've had to remove all the plastic and go on to the next one. The next one's not going to come for a few weeks afterwards. So a little bit nervous for that, but oh look, it's just one of those. It's those trial and error things. You just got to put things out and then see what happens. Look, obviously, any business starting off is going to know this that's producing a product, especially whether it's food or something like ours. Yeah, look at these are you potentially could end up having to pour some out at some point, or you could potentially be behind. It's just the issue. So, but like I said, it's been very minimal. I've been quite lucky in that sense. Like it's only been like a week or two that I've sold out, and then I've had a restock sort of thing. So and then, yeah, because I've got emails like, oh, I can't order anything off your website. And I've sort of overlooked it. I've had to go to the website and go, "Oh, I'm out of stock. Whoops," sort of thing, and fix that. So yeah, but it's very minimal. I do manage that quite well now. But that's only been from trial and error, understanding my customer base, always keeping a percentage for like worst case scenario sort of thing, and that just keeps me ahead. But look, and now I think I've got the right balance. At first, I went over the top with that, whereas now I've been able to scale it back based on like what my customers are buying and everything, what's popular and everything. And I think I've got the right mix. But look, it's like it's never perfect, Like I could still do all of this, and then I could sell out. I could have another issue. It's like it's never nothing's nothing's ever going to be perfect, but I just try and manage it the best way I can, because again, it's like I said, it's now because my brother, like, I helped me a lot, but he's got his own business to run, sort of thing. So I've got to do all this on my own essentially. So I said it's like I manage it pretty well, but yeah, look, I could still have faults. I could have an issue. I could have a contamination. I could have things fall. Most of my stuff I've fully automated majority of things that I do. So I could actually leave if I plan it correctly. I could walk away from my mushroom growing for like 4 days, not touch anything. It could do everything if I pre-planned and got up to that level. But I like after that I couldn't. Like I'd have some issues, sort of thing, and I had to do that purely because I had first up and I couldn't walk away from it, and I started missing, family things and stuff. And something I've had to realize, and I put this advice out to everyone. It's like, if you're going to go chase a dream, or like you're going to go to this entrepreneur and try start your business, you've got to be prepared that this is like, it's not easy. It's a really hard road to go down. You're gonna have setbacks, like you're gonna have nights you don't sleep, you're gonna miss events, sort of thing. And this is where it's like, you've got to, how far are you willing to go? And something I learned recently is like, yeah, you do have to have some downtime, which is something I've had to learn. But it's all has to be pre-planned. I have to plan it in advance, sort of thing. So I learned this lesson because I missed my youngest nephew's christening. I kind of never forgave myself for that, because of the business. And this is why now I'm trying to, like, at least once a month I space time to obviously like do some family things, or like have some downtime for myself. Or obviously, I'm getting pressured by everyone to, why aren't you dating? Start looking for your wife and all this stuff as well. But obviously that'll come. That's why I'm trying to finish some renovations in the house to then free up some more time. But yeah, it is hard. It's like, it's not easy. I think like everyone sees people online, that go successful overnight, and they're like, oh wow, look at that. But if you really look into that, a lot of people that get successful overnight, yeah, there's this percentage of that, it's very small. I think look at someone like I think it's Adrian Patello, is it that guy, the billionaire, he does all that. Someone like him, like, great story, like he found a niche, went for it, obviously failed his first business thing, and like this, I really respect that guy from where he's taken it. But he failed, and then he found a niche and he went with it, and it happened for him. And it obviously had his trial and error, but great networking, and he's built this really great empire, like phenomenal story. But then you get other people, and it's like they've elevated overnight, and then if you really look, or they're on Sunrise they start a business, they get a gig on Sunrise in the morning and stuff like that. And from a person who doesn't have those kind of connections, or the kind of money from family to be able to support that, you look at that and it's disheartening and stuff. But I always say this, is like, one, you should never judge on other people. You should appreciate other people's success, but a lot of the time you'll find that some people just have connections. They have a lot of money, and but you can't let that hold you back. You've got to just continue on. If you're right and you're happy with your product and what you're doing is good, it's just push through, sort of thing. You just don't let anything get to you. Don't judge yourself compared to others. Appreciate other people's success. I think that's a great thing to sort of do. Thing like that. And yeah, just make sure that what you're doing, if you're doing everything right, it'll happen for you, sort of thing. But I think a lot of people think that oh, I can start a business and it'll be easy, and it's just not. Like I said, I had to sell like like I love my Mitsubishi GDO. Like I built that car and do you know, are you into cars?
Not really, but like I'm guessing is it like a JDM car or
Yeah, it's a JDM. It's like it's not 1997. I got it. It's 1997 model, but I bought it based on when I was young. My uncle owned car lots, very successful in New Zealand, and I remember we went over for Christmas, and he pulled up in one when I was a kid, and I was like, oh, "This is the car I want." So I waited and waited because they were like over $100,000 years and years ago. And when I bought it, I was lucky. I scored, I got it at the right market when JDMs hit that point where they started coming down in value. And I only paid 15 grand for it, for 15,000 Ks, because it had all this like black smudges all over it. They try to clean it and they go, oh, and then I negotiated and said, oh, it's, that's paintwork. I'll have to spray this stuff. So it was 25 grand, but I got it for 15. And then I went home and cut and polished it. It all came off and it was beautiful. But obviously, yeah, look, I rebuilt the gearbox, pulled everything apart, changed all the bushes, everything except the engine, which was the next thing. But to start this business, I already invested my money into it from my savings, and I hit a wall. And look, I didn't want to get a loan. I don't want to get other people because I don't want to have to answer people. I want to be, answer to myself essentially. So I sold that and yeah, put the money into the business essentially. But it's like going back to what I was saying. It's like that was so hard. We even got a video of it driving off, and like I missed that car, but like I look at what I've achieved and everything, and I'm like that's sort of hope down the track. I'll be able to buy another nice car down the track, sort of thing. I sort of made a promise to myself that I would. But these are this kind of sacrifices you've got to be willing to take. I think that's where a lot of people think that everything's going to be easy, or like they get their first failure and they just throw their hands up. I'm on to my like 10,000th failure by now. It's like this is my third business venture. Like my first two just didn't work, sort of thing. Whereas this is, it's right. And I should have done this years ago because I was always doing mushrooms, but I sort of, again, I was nervous about it because I did look at the mushroom industry as like, it's so massive. And it is like from a fresh point of view, I try to sell fresh mushrooms, but I just couldn't compete because they wanted to buy like high premium mushrooms at a low rate, and I couldn't sell my shiitakes like that. I don't want to sell. They're different. It's not apples for apples, and I just couldn't do that. And then I looked at it as like the volume and the amount. It was just gonna be too much. So that's why I went down the extract market sort of thing. So, but yeah, sorry, a bit long-winded, but yeah, essentially it's like I always put that advice out there as like I think there's some good things to take into if you want to become your own entrepreneur or you want to run your own business is poverty. I think poverty is a great motivator, this sort of thing. If you're struggling, I think that can be really drive or trauma. I know people say that might be crazy to some people, but I've had a lot of bad things happen my life, and like most people sort of thing. But it's using that and then turning it into a positive, using that energy that hurts, and then turning that into something that drives you forward. If you can refocus like things like that in just in general life, even if you're not running a business, it's like that. These are the kind of things you can change. I'm a big believer in, they say, I think a lot of women say that men never change and stuff like that. Whereas I'm a big person in change. Like I every year, like I constantly change myself personally. Not only from like the studies and stuff, like doing a lot of study, I read a lot of books, but just in personal, like and taking advice from other people that see that your faults that you may not, but not take rejecting that. Like yeah, you might not take it all, but actually reviewing. If someone says something that's like don't take it the wrong way. Just go, okay, we'll process that. Maybe that's right. Look, let me have a look at that and question yourself. You should question what everything that you do. Make sure that you are like your thoughts are your own thoughts as well. Like, and that's another big thing as well. I think a lot of people take media on and then they just reiterate that as their own sort of thing and without actually having the proper thought process to process that and say, is that really what like I believe? Does that really sit with me? I think that's, a good thing. So but yeah, sorry, a little bit long-winded, but yeah, that's kind of a bit of a process and like some advice from other people out there.
I love that, Ryan. We were just talking about sort of selling out. Do you always have like 10 to 20% of your capacity not growing something so that you can sort of adjust based on what you need, or like always at max capacity? And if you do sell out, you're already maxed out, so people are just gonna have to wait.
No. So always look, always keep that. Just it's just a backup because that's a problem. Like you always have to keep a stockpile of, petri dishes that are ready to go, liquid cultures. I think that's the thing ready to go. So then I can quickly inoculate because obviously lion's mane, like I said, if I inoculate that in 30 days, I'm going to have a product. However, if I do a 6 week extraction process, you had that on to like 4 weeks, there's 10 weeks that I need essentially before I can produce a product. So this is why it's very crucial for me to have that extra stockpile. And yeah, I have to take a punt constantly with it. But I think I'm at the sim right, almost at the right level. Like it's not perfect. Like I said, I because again, I could get a when I release. I know that there's a lot of people holding off because I haven't had Cordyceps. There's a lot of people that said they'll come over because they buy Cordyceps from someone else, but they don't want to be like buying two from others and things like that. So I've had to sort of factor in a little bit of that, and I've gone a little bit overkill recently. Obviously, just and usually when I do a sale. I sell a bit more as well. And this time of year is kind of the hot time for vitamins and supplements because it's, coming into a warmer weather. Everyone's out hitting the gym and doing things. Everyone's trying to improve their body for summer, essentially. We go in these cycles where through winter we sort of hibernate and leave things. So, yeah, like I always have to have that little bit extra just because of that. Because some people look, obviously others they do a percolation where they force feed liquids through their mushroom fruit body and they can extract within 48 hours. They've got a product. I don't have that. That's not how my extraction process works. So yeah, I have to do that. And yeah, it's not perfect, but I think I've got it to almost the right level now, and like that'll always be improving and changing, because market trends constantly change. Like who knows? Like lion's mane could be thing, but there could be some research that comes out that says, if you take shiitake, such and such and such, and then everyone will flock to that because a lot of people that know about mushrooms now is purely because lion's mane has been so heavily saturated in the market that everyone draws to it. It's not only the feeling you get from it, but it's the hot topic at the moment, essentially. So it's just you just got to make sure you manage what the market trends are doing and keeping that. Obviously, managing what your customers are and what they prefer. Like I do monitor what my customers buy, and that's how I know. Like when I notice that they drop off and they don't buy a bottle or something, I don't understand that they're probably doing it a little bit hard, or maybe they changed. Like I've had feedback from some people that say, "Oh yeah, look, I didn't really like the Reishi, or wasn't right for me, but I preferred turkey tail, shiitake, and lion's mane sort of thing." So I take feedback that way, or I monitor what the orders are doing, essentially, sort of thing. So it's keeping that balance and just being understanding of what your business is, sort of thing.
And then Ryan, has your business always been word of mouth growth? Do you do any ads? Do you do any social media? Yeah.
Yeah, so when I first started, my brother was I like thank my older brother for this. Like he sort of helped me a lot of social media. We had a few issues where he did obviously he's using ChatGPT with the post, which I do now, just because it's quicker. But because he didn't understand mushroom sort of thing, and ChatGPT, if you don't really put the right inputs in and put some effort into what you're actually asking it for, it'll just produce like information based on what off the internet. So I did a few posts that didn't match up with what we are doing, but obviously it's trial and error, and like I'm still thankful for it, like the help he did, sort of thing. But yeah, I do everything that you see now is everything like I do myself. So I do ads on social media, but again, and it goes back to look, this is another thing that people potentially could find. Look, I don't know how other people do it, but I struggle a little bit with Instagram every couple of months or every month or something like this, and they reclassify me based on I don't know. Some people I don't know who's doing it, but we get a little bit of we get classified as a drug. We're trying to promote drugs, so I can't advertise then. I've got to then send emails to Instagram, like Meta, going back and forth, going, no, we're not. This is what we do, and then explain myself. And that's happened multiple times. And it just happened recently, I think a couple of weeks ago. So these are other things you're going to come across and fight along the way. Like I said, it's not a smooth road to success. But yeah, look, all the social media, yeah, I do that on myself. Like all those videos I do on my stories where you see the bottle and everything. I actually go down to the bush behind where I am, and then I do all those videos there. It's all in the Blue Mountains. I think it's just really kind of cool. I like that. I do obviously. All those videos like you see where show the processes and stuff. So I do all of that. I'll write my own scripts, sort of thing, and try to do it because that's a real hard thing with Instagram. People's attention is 10 to 30 seconds essentially. But the first 10 seconds is crucial. So if you can't get people interested in your first 10 seconds, you've lost them, sort of thing. So when I first started, I was doing these minute 30 minutes. So then I could promote them on Instagram because you can only go up to a minute 30. And like I found by looking at statistics and that, people weren't watching all the way. Not a lot of people watching all the way through like that. So that's why I've had to reduce all my things. Like, again, this comes with trial and error because there's no rule book on how to do social media. But you've just got to scale it back. So a lot of my videos are a lot shorter now. It gets to the point of what we're doing. And even when I do my sales videos, it's like 13, 15 seconds, straight to the point, key things, very bang, 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 call to action essentially, sort of thing. So I guess in that sense, that's the only thing I look at it. I enjoy doing those ones, but I think some people take that as like I look like a used car salesman or something like that, which doesn't necessarily come across genuine. I try to be as genuine as possible, but again, how can you be genuine in 10 seconds? You know what I mean? It's so hard, and that's really like all you've got, sort of thing. Like I guess, and I'm a very like I guess maybe some people assume that when you talk about mushrooms, it's all very spiritual and all this stuff. And like my brother said, he goes, "Oh, if you came in, maybe people will be more attuned to you if you're like." Hey man, really calm. Like, check out my mushrooms, bro. So like, and I'd love to do that, but it's just not me. Like, I'm a very outgoing sort of extroverted person, sort of thing. So like, I'm loud and I'm like, yeah, bang, 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 bang. That's just the person I am. So I just that's how I do my videos. But it's purely getting to that point that I'm trying to engage people. I want them to come and look at my page, have a go at like see what we do, and do that because yeah, with a lot of people especially when I first started, we did get a lot of like bad comments. People doing I got messages saying that oh, I just import it from overseas. I'm lying. This is, everything that I do is false and everything. And so, like, I did videos, and then they said that, like, I made the videos up or I'm stealing other people's things. Like, I really got or to the point where I even got a comment. Was it from a chick that she said at like 3 o'clock in the morning? She goes, I'm from Lithgow and I'm going out in the bush and picking these mushrooms, and you're selling them. And I'm like, I'm not going and picking mushrooms, selling them. I'm like actually growing it. Did you look at my page? Like, sort of thing. So I said it's not perfect. It's crazy that you have to do that these days for a business to work. Yeah, social media presence is so important for a business. Without it, but subscribers or followers doesn't necessarily mean orders, essentially. But it's still important because the people just want to have content. People enjoy just consuming content, and that's why. Look, I'm happy with that too. That's why I try and make my videos as interesting as possible. But you've really got to focus in and try bring them down to a minimal time. That's why I'm kind of glad that you did sort of offer to do this podcast because it's given me a chance to actually sort of talk to who I am, which I can't do a video like that because it's I don't know. Every time I've tried, watch it. I'm like, oh god, I'm bored. sort of thing. It's like I can see why people switch off, sort of thing. So, but yeah, it's like as you know too. You're on social media. It's not easy to get it. Like obviously, some of these other companies probably have like with bigger budgets or like funding, they can go get marketing firms that know the niche or everything, and they can really zoom down. They can do these great arts things everything you see, all the photos I take, everything, all the designs, like I just do that. I do that myself, sort of thing. Yeah, sometimes like, and I do ads, and I'm like, oh, maybe I shouldn't put that out. That maybe that's a bit too far or something. I want to like, there's that part of me where I want to be a joker, but I sort of got to be like, no, it's got to be to the product. It's got to be a bit fun. Like I want to be funny and do these stupid videos, sort of thing, because I just enjoy. I used to do things like that online, but it's like you've really got to kind of get back to what your product is and try engage people, get to the points, and yeah, hope that works, sort of thing. So, but yeah, it's I spend a lot of money on advertising. I'd like to spend more, but it's struggling. You really have to find, yeah, as you're probably aware, like when you advertise on Instagram, it's like when you're finding your audience and doing that, like instead of relying on their suggested audience, like making up your own ones and trial and erroring through them, and then you could do a campaign and like I could go 1,000 views through and not one person liked my video, and it's like, well, am I really? Then it's like you got to go back and go, okay, obviously I didn't advertise that to the right person. I don't think that's what I did was wrong necessarily. It's just that the people that it was they're showing are just not interested. Whereas if it was a big marketing firm, they'd be like, "Oh, you got to do this, this, and this, and then bang, that'll work." So everything that I do is again, it's like mushrooms. It's trial and error. Online is it's not perfect. You go back to my first videos to where we're now, and you can see the progress again that I go. So, but yeah, social media is not easy. It's its own job in itself to do that, and you know through the week, no one does it. So it's like you got to constantly be preparing, and you don't want to just keep posting the same thing as well. It's always got to be interesting. So, um, obviously, I post pretty much on the weekend, except for my story every day, just because through the week, I've noticed with advertising and everything, there's not very minimal engagement. People are not engaged through the week. They're not concerned about buying or anything. It's weekends is where, because everyone's like, oh, the weekend's here. The happiness comes up. You got time. You feel like you've got time to scroll and look at things, absorb a product that you're looking at and like really get to have a look at it. So, but yeah, that's kind of where my philosophy is, or like how I sort of run my scenarios when it comes to like social media, essentially.
I love that, Ryan. And I guess what has been your main focus over the last 6 months when it comes to everything? Yeah.
Over the last 6 months, over the last 6 months, I think the big thing was obviously redesigning the grow room to incorporate cordyceps. So before I did that, and cordyceps actually, so they're my two main ones. So I'll talk about the restructure. The issue I had before was because they're different temperatures. I to grow cordyceps, I actually had to stop or like grow a heap of lion's mane, reishi, and that, put a heap ahead, and then stop so I could grow cordyceps to keep the temperatures down. And that's why I had to do a redesign. It took me a long time to work this out, balance temperatures, get the heating right, putting the right airflow movement and everything like that. It took me quite a while. So that's been my main focus, just because, like I said, I have a small operation, and I have to make it work. I can't have, stop points and be like, oh, okay, look, I'll stop this because yeah, like I said, if we have a big rush of lion's mane and then I'm like, oh, now I'm behind. So that and cordyceps be my two main focus because I always say this, it's like cordyceps is obviously new to me. I had a lot of back and forth with that, but I found a big thing with cordyceps, which was I was lagging behind, was it was just the moisture content. I didn't get that get that quite right. It took me a while to sort of manage that quite. I ran like multiple, even like the substrate thickness and things like that. See, this is like the levels I go to, and then you've got to do it with like the vitamin mineral content, the vitamin content that you're putting in. So like there's three different a tangible item sort of thing that it's three different variables that you've got to work with, and then you can't just do like one test of one jar of each. Like you've got to do like multiple, like it's like eight of everything, and then go through this again. So that's why they've been like obviously the redesign took me a while. I would say that, but yeah, Cordyceps has been the real testing one just to get it right. Like the product I'm about to release now is like I was saying to my brother yesterday. I was like, oh, when I had this one, I was like, I took the Cordyceps the first time. I was like, because I always try my product first, and I was like, oh, like I was like, yeah, this is it. Like I've done it. I was like super, super proud of myself for it. But yeah, it's been a very trivial process with cordyceps. Like I said, growing in plastic. Then I went to plastic containers. Then I moved back, and now I'm going back to glass, sort of thing. So and again, so that's more unfortunate. Substrates that just get thrown out or decomposed in the backyard. Look, I'm very good with that stuff. I try put it back into my into my area sort of thing because again, if you break that stuff down, it's really good, especially cordyceps. If it's not contaminated, actually birds love the substrate. It's actually wild birds love it because of the rice and the vitamins and minerals. It's not bad for them and it's good for them, sort of thing. So they obviously it gives them a bit of energy, sort of thing. But I get a lot of cockatoos, kookaburras, and parrots and everything because obviously in the Blue Mountains. And I've noticed the possums and bilbies as well like to eat it as well. So funny enough, because I've just come out the back. Obviously, I've broken up blocks and I've come out there and animals in the wild will seek out fungi, sort of thing for their own benefits. That's why there was that big thing with bees years ago where bees were dying off, and we found that we were separating bees from trees, and the reason they were picking trees was because of the fungi in the tree, and they were using it as medicine. And it was I think Paul Stamets was one of the ones who identified that, and he was making up like, and this is what I'll do when I get my beehives, is like making up a fungi mix that they can eat to sort of so they get their medicine. That's why they were doing it, and we were separating them from that, and they're not feeding it to them. So that's why it's like it's crucial that like that's why we do this because bees are very important to the ecosystem essentially. So, but yeah, it's like yeah. Sorry, I did a long-winded thing there, but yeah, that's pretty much sort of where it's sort of at with it all.
I love that, Ryan. We always wrap up these podcasts with these two questions. One, any recent discoveries that you've been implementing to your day-to-day life?
With mushrooms or just generally speaking?
Generally speaking.
Um, I guess like something that I've implemented that's it's improving my life essentially. I guess one of the ones that well actually one of the things I've done this year is actually start learning piano.
Hmm.
I know that's a bit far out of probably not what you're thinking of implementing, but it goes back to like when you learn piano, obviously you're training a different side of your brain. And again, obviously it's far from what I normally do. I've always wanted to learn piano, but because I have to take in, again, this goes into obviously taking lion's mane and being able to handle a lot more information. I'm now wanting to like I'm trying to see push the limits of my body essentially and my brain capacity. So piano is one of the things that I've done, and since I've done that, I have noticed like a lot of changes, like a big boost in like mental capacity and things like that, and a different like strategic thinking has gone a little up. So I've noticed some change. I think that was one good thing. So I always suggest to people is like you should try and take up other like hobbies or try do other things outside of the norm, like yeah, it's okay to get home from work and chuck on Netflix and sit down and that's quite easy. And I'm not saying that it's a wrong thing, but I think that once people get to a sort of like my age, which is 39, 40, they just sort of not give up, but they just, it's go to work, come home, see the family, kids, and, eat dinner, watch TV, go out on the weekend to sports, and that's it. I think like you should constantly, read, keep training your brain and doing all those things. So I think the big implement was just adding things to my life essentially. And if I was to say a second one, I don't know, it's really hard because I do a lot of things already. But I do this already, but I reckon you should probably, this is something that I always suggest to people is like, I was never a morning person. I made myself into a morning person, but I get up super early, not because obviously before I start my normal job, which is around 6, I get on my laptop, but it gives me a chance to get onto mushrooms early in the morning, do some inoculation. So I said like I couldn't start at 7 because I had to get up and do some like inoculation this morning. But before that, I get up even earlier and go for a walk in the morning. And since my dog passed, I still do this because you need a time of the day where nothing's happening, no phones are calling or anything, and just for you to be at one with your thoughts a little bit. And a walk is one, it's good for you for your exercise anyway, but it's just you need that to get you started. Like building yourself a morning routine is really crucial. And I think actually there is one I want to share as well. Remove your mobile phone out of your bedroom. So recently I just got an alarm clock and I put that into my room. I don't want any radio waves, frequencies, or anything while I sleep. I think that's super important that you separate that. Get yourself a normal alarm clock and do that. Your sleep is super important to you, especially in the times we are. And separate that. Separate your phones because there's always constantly waves going on. You don't want any digital like frequencies or anything like that while you're sleeping. I think that's a really important thing for people. If you do that, you will notice a big change essentially as well.
Wow, I love that. And then any personal goals for the next 6 months that isn't work related, Ryan?
Yeah. Okay. I finished the bathroom I'm working on renovations, so hopefully I have that finished by Christmas. I've got 2 more walls to tile, but I got like freestanding bath to put in. I've still got to put the toilet in and things like that, and obviously do all the grouting and things like that. So that's one goal I want to do. I guess I don't know if it's a goal. I guess, but I would like to. I'd like to meet it, my next partner, sort of thing. I think that would be true because that's the next stage for me. I already feel like I'm successful in everything that I've done, but to me, I've got nephews and stuff, and I know people go, "Oh, you just say it differently when you've got kids," but I think oh, you're not truly successful until you have kids. Like, so it's not for everyone. Some people don't want to have kids, but to me, when I look at that, it's like when I have kids and I can sit there at Christmas and look over and see my wife and kids are happy and they don't have to like have any stress because that's my responsibility, then like I think that will be true happiness for me, sort of thing. Like and having that and going through that process, I like it's just I think that part of life is just a beautiful thing that we're able to like the reproduction of like humans is like a phenomenal thing, especially for women, like for them to be able to like grow a human inside them. I think that's great. So I think that's I would love to meet. So obviously the kid thing would come after that, but I'd love to meet my future partner. I guess is the next goal, sort of thing. But we'll see how we go. If not, I'm going to buy a motorbike.
That's
So
beautiful.
one thing at a time.
Yeah, because I always head down to the Blue Mountains probably like once or twice a year. I do like an overnight hiking sort of trip, tent camping. Is that something you do much often, or do you have camping gear?
It's funny you say that. So, I used to do this a lot. I haven't done this for a while, but I used to go into the bush. So me and a couple of mates, we would go deep in the bush. And I remember I said earlier about, all that extra wood that's in the bush sort of thing. So we would go out for a couple of days. We would build a hut out of like sticks and everything that we find and going off the trail. So we go deep into the Blue Mountains where, technically you should probably have an e-probe or e-pod with you just in case things go wrong. We never did, but yeah, we do that. I think that's a good way to sort. It's a good reset. Like I said, like I sleep on the ground. I still take a sleeping bag. I don't necessarily take a tent out with me. I like to do it a little bit rough. You know what I mean? And then you take like a bit of frozen meat out with you and you cook that in the fire and doing that because I think fire is a great element and we should have that. Obviously, summer you want to avoid that in the Blue Mountains. So it's more of a winter thing. But I think doing things like that just brings us back to who we are as humans and again it separates us from the technology and then being with nature is just that like I do it now. Like if I'm not going camping, like if I'm really like at that point and I can't think and everything's just gone piled too much on me, I go down the back bush and I just sit down there and just sit by the creek and I'll just sit there for a couple of hours and just take it in and do that. And then I come back, I want to feel great about it. But usually it just makes you sort of realize that maybe the problems aren't that big and then you can sort of gives you a chance to manage it because when everything's around you constantly got your phone going off and everything and you're constantly surrounded it's hard to sort of process everything but when you're out especially as you would know when you go to the Blue Mountains it's like it's just so peaceful it's so nice you just feel like oh my God, like I sit out there and you just hear the wind, the birds and everything, and it just I don't know, I feel like a real connection to country, I guess, is the like I feel part of the land. It's great sort of thing. So yeah, I'd always recommend that. So that's my interim, but yeah, look, obviously I want to go back out. I haven't been out for a little while, but yeah, go out, do some more roughing. I'll probably wait till summer's over. Like I said, it's more of a winter thing for me for that. But yeah, that's how I like to do it. I sort of like to go off the trail, find new areas. But when I say that, if people are going to copy that, be very careful where you step. I only say that is like something I learned for a while ago. Obviously, AM fungi, I said that earlier. When you go through the bush, if you're trudging through the bush and you're breaking things up, you're stepping on microbes and fungi and everything that are established in that area. So it's like you don't want to wreck those environments. So you've got to be very mindful of where you walk. Like even when I go out of the bush now, I try I'm just very careful on where I go. And then two, if I ever go picking as well, you should always take out some like corn flour or like some rye flour. And if you pick, throw some down. It's like feeding back to the environment. Give back, you know what I mean? So be careful when you're trudging through the bush. Don't make a mess. I always say this. And I'm one from learning from this because I used to run through the bush like a maniac. And then I was like, after I learnt it all, I'm like, oh, this is horrible. Why did I do that? Something. So you learn, but yeah, I always just say that. Just be mindful when you're around the bush. Don't like cause things. Don't go kicking huge boulders down the hills. You know what I mean? Things like that. Like you don't understand the repercussions of what you just did to that environment by doing that like yeah, some fungi might it'll redevelop, but you've probably just killed like bugs, microbes, everything, fungi by just like pushing it. It just leave the bush how it is. It is. We're very lucky to have the Blue Mountains, and if that's why they can't develop it. And like I'm such a big person, and I'll fight if they develop it. I try and overdevelop it. It's hard because of all the canyons and everything. But I know there's some people now they're trying to push through in developments in the mountains at the moment, which yeah, I'm very, very, very much against. Because I want it. Like, obviously, have you got kids yourself, Andy?
No kids at the moment, no.
Do you want to have kids?
I'd love to have kids.
Yeah, that's perfect, man. And you would you want your kids to come and see the Blue Mountains as it is when you got to come see it?
Most definitely.
And that's what I mean. And that's important sort of thing. What we do now is like we have to be conscious of what we do for future generations sort of thing. Like I want my great grandkids or like my nephews and their kids, like I want them to be able to experience like what I experienced. I don't want them to have to go, oh, the Blue Mountains. Oh yeah, it's got like high rises and you know, all this other stuff over there now. Because they're trying to do that in some areas and I'm like, yeah, and it's super against it. They've put at least it's starting to come into dark skies as well. So they're pushing back on light pollution, which is fantastic because it's like you can drive up the mountains and you can see the stars on a good clear night sort of thing, and which you can't do that in Sydney. So we need to preserve that. I think that's important, sort of thing. But it's just preserving the land. We're very fortunate enough to have such a beautiful country. Like why destroy it, sort of thing. So, but yeah, just as I always say, just a bit of advice: be mindful when you're out in the bush to people. You know, don't do anything silly. It's not. It's yeah. And I've seen people online pushing big boulders down like hills, and I'm like, don't do that, man. It's like it's not. That's not right. You're messing the ecosystem up. Even though it doesn't see it, when you understand the microbes and everything that works in the soil, you don't understand what you're doing and the repercussions. Because then that fungi that was successful there could roll down the hill, and then it could be competing with something and it dies off. And yeah, look, obviously, if some people go, I don't care about it, it's just fungi. Why do you care? It's like if fungi dies, the forest dies, the bush dies. Like people don't understand how significant it is. It's like we understand if the ocean dries up, the everything on land dies. It's no different with fungi. Fungi dies, forest dies. It is literally the communication, the feeding of everything that's underground. You just don't see it, sort of thing. So it's very crucial that we look after that for the future.
Makes sense. Ryan, how can people get more of you? How can they check out your products? Yeah.
Look, I always say head to our Instagram. Look, obviously, I was trying to go to the markets, but I pulled back just because obviously, look, I've got it's just getting too much, and like I said, it pulled me away from getting a bit of time with family, and I've got to finish my renovations, and then obviously progress the business. So look, reach out, go to my Instagram. Check out our page, have a look at it. Look, send me a message. I'm very, you know, I'm happy to take respondents. If you got questions about mushrooms, if you know, if you're curious or you're worried about like the effects of it, or you just want to know information about what the tincture may do for you, please reach out to me. I'm like happy to do. I love that. I actually really enjoyed like engaging, you know, and so that's why I enjoyed the market so much is because online it's hard to portray yourself, whereas at the market it's like we're doing what we do here. It's a good way to actually properly get to know someone, and then you can see them on face value. Whereas like you know, 15-second, 20-second, you really can't. But if you go to our Instagram, Facebook as well, sort of thing, you can see our mushrooms and see what like I grow. You can see the processes, and then yeah, if you want to know more, like reach out. If you just even if you look again to it, I'm all for this. If you want to grow mushrooms yourself and start growing your own little mushroom thing, reach out to me. I'm happy to help with that. Look, I'm very for that sort of thing. Like yeah, definitely do that. So yeah, any help on mushrooms, or if you're just starting off and you want to know anything about it, reach out to me. I'm happy to help.
I love that, Ryan. And what's your Instagram handle and website?
So it's Blue Mountains Mushrooms Pty Ltd. I know we had Blue Mountains Mushrooms, but and then we went to that one because we had issues with that Instagram, so we had to create another one. So because it is a proprietary company, it is a proper company. We are fully insured and everything like that. It's not just a solo job sort of thing. So, but yeah, if you reach out, Blue Mountains Mushrooms Pty Ltd. Obviously, you'll have our logo, which is the which I created, which is the three, which is technically the three sisters, essentially. That's why I have the three triangles. But there's some universal numbering that goes behind that symbol as well, which is all positive as well. There's a few things that I do, which again goes into a sort of spiritual aligning with like golden ratios and you know what I mean, the flower of life, and there's a few things that I do behind, which all comes a part of our products as well. But if you come out to Instagram, reach out through Facebook, happy to start a conversation. You can see what we do, and if you have any other information, I'm happy to send it through.
I love that, Ryan. Thank you so much for your time today. I love how passionate you are. You really want to help. I could also see how much of a perfectionist you are.
Yes.
And like how you're always like willing to go that extra mile to sort of you know, especially with the glass, the just not being happy with using the plastics. Like you have such high integrity and you're sort of just going for your dream, and I could really feel that across the screen over the last 2 hours that we've been chatting.
Oh, they've been that long already. No, I really rate that, man. And thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to do it. And look, just a bit of advice for anyone out there. Look, if you want to do something and chase your dreams, just go for it. And it's going to be hard, but like I said, you just do it. Like you only get one chance at life. Like why not give it all, you know, sort of thing. So, but again, thank you so much, Andy. I really appreciate you reaching out, and yeah, I've really enjoyed this interaction, mate. So yeah, thanks heaps.
I love that we did it, Ryan. And quick question, I know you said which was the mushroom strain that you would take prior to doing that heavy presentation and it would feel like ease? Did you take that today?
Cordyceps.
Oh, did you take some cordyceps this morning or?
Oh yeah, 100%. So I take cordyceps. I like every morning is cordyceps, shiitake, and lion's mane in the morning, straight off the bat. Yeah, but take that every day in the morning. Gives me, it just goes for the, yeah, like that's why I love it. I just love it because it gives you that. Look, I'm an energetic person already. Yes. But again, this way I don't have to have, I still have one coffee in the morning only because I like the taste of coffee, but I don't need that. If anything, it's probably giving me too much energy, sort of thing. But once the coffee wears off, like the cordyceps just carry you then the rest of it. So I'm updating the website. I should have it going today. So cordyceps will be available from today, I'm hoping, sort of thing. If not, I was due to release it Monday, but I'm going to set it all up and have it going today. But yeah, cordyceps is a really great one. So I'm looking forward to releasing that, and I'm looking forward to the reviews and people's feedback from that product.
I love that, Ryan. Thank you so much once again for your time. Guys, if you made it this far, hope you guys learned a ton of new things and got a ton of value. I'll see you guys next week on another episode of the podcast. Peace.
Thanks, Andy. Take care.